with us the one and the only Mark Seiden. He's the owner and president, CEO of the Mark Seiden Real Estate Team out of New York. And I'm telling you what, if you've been on some of these Facebook Lives before, you have never heard anybody like Mark. Mark's going to bring a whole different level of energy to the call today. Mark, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's a crazy world we're living in right now. Just while we're waiting for people to jump on the Facebook Live, and guys, as you join us on the Facebook Live today, I'd love you to come in the comment section, say hello, let us know who you are and where you're dialing in from. And then also, if you have any questions for Mark, as I'm discussing with Mark how to create a rock star 7-figure team and the things that works best for him, I want to make sure that you have the ability to ask questions and engage with us. So we're excited that you're here. Mark, tell us a little bit about you and your team.
Well, we have 15 people on our team. We've got 5 buyer agents, 1 listing partner, and actually we call them buyer partners, and the rest are all admin. So we are very admin heavy in order to make sure that the agents have the most time just to do things with clients and actually to give me the most time off that I can have.
Yeah, I actually love that concept. I think if we support our people, it allows them to spend more time doing the things that actually generate revenue.
Oh, absolutely. And what people don't really understand is that those professions that are supposedly have a much better reputation than we do and supposedly make more money than we do, all work on teams. So if you talk about doctors and attorneys, especially doctors, all they do is have a team around them, because what the doctor is supposed to do is see as many patients as possible. And anything that anybody else can do has to be done by support staff. And that's kind of actually how we set up our whole operation.
Yeah, I like to say that anything that you do 3 times, you have to have a system for it, and then you have to have an assistant that executes it.
That's correct. Absolutely. So we really call our agents doctors. So anytime we're looking at something that an agent does, our first question is, well, would that be doctor's work? Would that be nursing work? Or would that be some of the department's work? And as soon as it's not doctor's work, it goes to somebody else on the team.
That's a great analogy. A great way to look at things.
Yeah, it works really
we're in
well.
the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic in New York. Tell me a little bit about what you've been experiencing the last 30 days or so.
Well, since about March 15th, we have been closed. Our offices are closed. In New York State, we are not an essential business. I know in a lot of other states there were limitations, but they're essential business. We are not an essential business. And we are not deemed to be an essential business. We're thinking that it's going to be around June 9th in our area. Different areas in New York State has become essential, but down near New York City, we're the first county outside the 5 boroughs of New York City. We are still not essential. So we are not allowed to meet, taste, shake hands with, be at a door, open a door, or go down to the end of the driveway and wait. We're not allowed to do any of that while we're doing real estate. In the meantime, some of my buyer partners are going to contract and more business now and have more hot people in the pipeline now than we had before COVID. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that is actually really cool. So I'm curious, tell me a little bit about how you've transacted. What have you been able to accomplish?
Well, I have never pivoted so quickly in my life. My daughter, who dances, basically said she didn't pivot. I didn't pivot. She thinks I'm a ballerina, and all I do is just keep going in circles and circles and circles, moving so fast. So we became virtual very quickly. We came up to speed on Zoom, Facebook Live, different apps called Duo, which kind of lets people do FaceTime between Apple and Android. A lot of people don't know about it, but FaceTime is really just an Apple product. So if someone has an Android, you can't FaceTime with someone with, right. But if you download Duo, the Duo app, Duo app, you can now FaceTime with everybody. It's really great. So we had a lot of things, I would say partially to 3/4 virtual at one point, and we pretty much could run a real estate company almost totally virtually now. It's pretty amazing.
That is pretty incredible. So just out of curiosity, have you done transactions? I mean, you're shut down. Are you selling and listing houses?
Yeah, we're having one of the best going into contract months that I've had in probably about 14 months, and we're in COVID. I would tell you the listing side is slower. It's been much harder to get sellers to put their properties on the market because they're more afraid of all these different people going into their house. But with buyers, they're like, listen, I only need to see 1, 2, or 3, and we're showing virtually. So we're having sellers show the properties directly to the buyers, and it kills us just to know that's happening, but we have no choice where we are. And we are on the phone virtually. So we're doing a Duo or a FaceTime while our buyers are going through the house that the sellers are either showing them or the house may be vacant. And we have bidding wars. I mean, vicious bidding wars going on right now. Unbelievable of what's happening because we have such a lack of inventory. So our push right now has been able to say, what listings can we get on the market? Because they're going like this.
Right. Yeah, we're finding that in a lot of markets that there's just, people are a little trepidatious to put their house on the market because they don't want people coming through their home. But when they do put their house on the market, it's a great time to actually sell because there's such a huge demand of buyers that are looking to buy. By the way, as you're getting on the call today, I'm here with Mark Seiden of the Mark Seiden Real Estate Team. It's Viral Workman on our Facebook Live today. Make sure you come in and say hello. If you hear something you like, please give us a thumbs up or love it in the comments and ask Mark questions. Mark is the kind of guy you can ask anything to, and he will always tell you what he believes is the truth.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, Viral, when we were talking about sellers, we kind of figured out a little trick to get more sellers on the market. So what sellers basically think when they come on the market, that their house has to be open, from, 8 in the morning till 9 at night, 7 days a week. And we told them, no, there's no law in New York State that says that, nor is there any MLS rule and regulation, at least in our MLS, that says that. So I said, in this tight time of COVID, if you really want to limit exposure, you can limit it any way that you want reasonably. So if you just want to be able to show 2 days a week, a Saturday and a Wednesday, then we'll make Saturday and Wednesday the showing times. If you just want to show between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. or 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. or, limited per day, we can do whatever we need to do as long as we document that as the showing times. We've now been able to get more listings on the market now because the sellers feel relieved that it doesn't have to be a revolving door. So I would suggest that to people.
Yeah, you bring up something I think is really important, and that is that we have a tendency, because we've been in the business so long, to think everybody knows what we know. And we have to educate them. We have to teach them.
That's correct. That's right. And social distancing, I tell you, it's a very interesting new idea. I've always said that, the old 1990s jazz hands is now back to saying, hello, how you doing? It used to be corny. Now it's like, hey, I'm back to jazz hands. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. The rules of re-engaging are so different in every market. It's just kind of interesting to watch.
It is.
Our kids in Utah, they're now approved. We've gone to yellow status, which means they're starting to open up inside of restaurants and the kids can play sports, but there's rules. So they can play physically contacting each other and they can go out and play soccer. Right. But if they're sitting on the sidelines, they have to wear a mask. You can sweat on me, but just don't breathe on me.
Yeah, don't breathe on me, right? But it's been really.
You know what I say to all that? I say whatever I can do to keep everybody else safe. I want to follow it. It's like there's no reason to put anybody at risk, and I hope things open up for you quickly. Actually, as you're continuing to sell and doing so well, maybe you hope it stays slow because so many people just pulled back. They just decided not to engage in real estate. They're going to wait till it passes. You took a whole different approach.
I did. It was interesting. When I heard that so many people were bowing out on paying for AdWords or training or coaching or Zillow ads or Realtor, whatever it is, we doubled down. So we actually put more money into any training item that we were doing. We actually started to pay more to do and anything for advertising. So we actually increased our advertising budget. And we had almost a 6 to 7-fold increase on the number of leads just by, maybe even increasing our ad space by 50%. And why that happened was the cost per click went way down. So as a lot of agents went out of the advertising market, the cost per click went down. Right. But in addition to that, we threw more money at it. So by just increasing our advertising by 50%, we got a 500 to 700% increase in the number of leads because everybody was going out while we were putting more in. And our training, with Ramp and BAM and all the workman stuff and all the non-workman stuff and role play, everything we tripled down on. So I'm doing more Zoom and role playing and training with my agents now than we were doing before, because everything is about scripts. And in case it wasn't clear, scripts.
So you're a fan of scripts?
I think I kind of may like it. Yeah, I only have about 142 pages of scripts that you and I put together, and that's probably just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we were just going through brand new scripts today on how to talk about the market and turnover rate, and is it a buyer's market or a seller's market or a balanced market, and what's the difference, and how do you show that to a consumer? And that was our role play call today. We went from just pure role playing into role playing while being on Zoom by looking at our MLS and role playing those scripts. It's been fascinating.
Yeah, if you teach your agents what to say, they're more bold in prospecting.
Oh yeah.
They don't know
And they're
what to
no
say.
more.
They have call reluctance. No one wants to look stupid or sound like they don't know what they're doing. So they don't put themselves in a situation where they could be denied.
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing, when my agents are talking, we have so many buyers that, this is like 2 months ago, they want to wait. I said, great. Then put them on waiting to buy. And I asked them one question. But when you call them, they go, hey, Joe, how's it going? What list should they be on? And they all initially look like, I don't know. I said, well, how about top 50? They're now your referral list. So if they're not ready to buy for the next 2 or 3 or 4 months because they're like paralyzed to buy, talk about referrals. So I said, so when you're talking now, you may now be talking more about getting a referral than necessarily are you ready to go out and buy? And my agents are getting referrals from people that they've never sold a house to before, that they just met from a lead coming in. They're now getting leads from the leads, even though those leads aren't ready to buy yet. But those leads from the leads are putting in offers. So we completely pivoted to doing referral to people that we've never sold to.
That goes back to that 7-day indoctrination series of emails we wrote. Remember I think it was the third email that says, hey, I hear from my sushi loving friends about a new sushi place. I go there. If you hear real estate come up, send me a referral, even though we haven't done business yet. Ask them for the business.
That's correct.
We found that if you provide great services, people will recommend you. You don't have to have sold them anything. All you have to do is educate them and give them value in your interaction.
That's correct. And its value is really everything. I mean, when we talk to them and we talk about the market, we talk about facts and what's really happening in bidding wars, and really talking to them about inventory, but not giving them high pressure, but actually really explaining to them the limitations we've had on being able to show. Because sometimes they call and say, well, I talked to 3 other agents. They said they'll unlock the door and let us in. I go, they can, but no problem. They're just breaking the law. But if that's an agent you want to work with, we understand. We can't do that. Our governor said no. So if our governor says no, we won't break a law. But by the way, if you find an agent that's going to break that law, I'm just curious, what other law are they going to break to make a commission? And once we said that to them, they want to work with us, even though we're putting more limits that we're not going to go there and meet them at the house. Credibility in this business is everything.
Yeah, I actually like that. You say your scripts are not real salesy. They all have a little New York attitude in them. No matter what you say, I know a Mark Seiden script when I hear it. Julie Toon Timms out of Hilton Head says to tell you hello, and she makes all your scripts sound nice.
Well, she might have had to work very hard at that because there's a lot of them. So
she puts that little Southern twang on it, and it doesn't matter what she says. It sounds sweet, and we're glad you're here, Julie. Thanks for saying hello. Also, Chris Hoffman says hello, and Paul Sessom says hi.
Hey guys, how you doing?
As you're listening to the call today, I encourage you to say hello and where you're from. And also, if you have any questions for Mark, who's killing it in COVID-19 and one of the hardest hit areas in the country. Mark, you said something to me. We were on a phone call recently, and you said there's not a single person on my team that hasn't been touched by someone who's been seriously affected or lost someone that's close to them as a result of this horrible disease. And when I think about that, it just makes me put it all into perspective. Not everybody is in the epicenter like you are, where there's so much death and so many people that have been affected by it.
We had a
family know our hearts and prayers are with you.
Yeah, thank you. We had a 1 week where we had 2 staff members, each had a person very close to them that passed away. And then I had two of my own employees that had it really badly. One of my employees has COPD. So when COPD and then he had COVID, we were like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. But thank goodness he came through. But we had a couple of tough weeks there where, yeah, there are people in hospitals. Even my mother-in-law's boyfriend, he was on a ventilator for, I think it was 11 days. And he came through. He's in his 80s. He came through. Thank goodness. But oh yeah, it's been, we are in the war zone.
It's nuts. So Allison Amando says, Mark is the best. Shows clearly someone that doesn't know you very well.
Yeah, she's not on my team. Oh yeah, she's on my team. Oh yeah. Well, Allison, I will tell you, Allison is kicking it. She's my senior buyer partner. And again, to give you an example, before COVID, you know, I always tell agents sometimes they're like baseball players. And that means sometimes they're just having the best couple of months, but sometimes they get in a slump. And Allison had a slump for a little bit where she had like a month of, you know, where is everything? And this is before COVID. And today we had our little 30-minute meeting together. And she had so many hots in her Boomtown database. I never had to scroll before to go from one section of hots to the next. And we were scrolling, and it wasn't that there were so many people there. There's so many people that they're, Mark, these people are real. Like we're showing properties in the way that we can. We're putting in offers. We have bidding wars. We're losing this, but then we're going to that. We're doing paperwork, and we're signing people up in exclusives. And by the way, we only work by exclusive. If they don't sign an exclusive, they're not a client. We don't take them out.
Congratulations, Allison. Way to kick butt.
Oh, she is
we work our way out of slumps. That's just, you just keep going up to the plate. I love it.
Tearing it. She's tearing it. Unbelievable.
That's great. So Mark, tell me a little about, as we've talked a little bit about your team and your shift and your pivot and all the things you've had to do. I'm curious about your core values and your team culture. Talk to me a little bit about your culture. Is it accidentally created? Is it something you've been intentional with?
Oh, it's extremely intentional. And I will tell you, one of the things that I was fighting for, I think the word is years, was setting a set of core values to kind of go through with the agents. And I thought it was kind of a little kitschy and cutie and sweetie and southerny, and I fought it for years. But, you know, I ended up having some agents and even some employees that pretty much, you know, had a chip on their shoulder, an attitude that they were better than everybody. And I finally at one point did a little house cleaning. And you and I had we'll say a very intense conversation about culture. And I won't say it was one conversation, it was many, where we finally put together core values. And once we put together the core values and I went through it with the agents, we changed some and we tweaked some. We go through that, you know, during our huddles. For the last week or so we haven't because it's been so intense with other things, but our normal is we take one of those core values and we just give it 1 or 2 minutes of what does it mean to you? What is that core value? And ever since we've had the core values, our culture is way up. Negativity is way down. Nobody has a chip on their shoulder. Nobody is negative. Nobody attacks somebody else. And if one agent has an issue with what another agent did, we actually discuss it as opposed to jumping down someone's throat. So I will tell you, if you don't have core values, you have to listen to Workman. You've got to set yourself up a set of core values. It changed our lives.
Well, you know, I appreciate you saying that, but more importantly, what I love is how it's changed your attitude and how you feel about going to work every day.
Oh yeah. It actually makes it a lot more fun because now we talk about the core value and you know what one of those core values may mean to me, it actually doesn't mean the exact same way to every one of the agents. So it's really great having this banter and talk about all the different ways people interpret that core value. And it's just fascinating. And it creates a lot of collaboration and really gives us all a very similar mission. So when we're all talking to all these different types of clients and employees and just even their family, it's really changed a lot of people's lives and how we put things together. So, and I fought it for years. I mean, years I fought to it. Oh, it's too cute. Do I look like I do cute? I don't do cute. It was awesome.
And now look how cute you are.
Yeah, I got cute.
All right. So give me an example of a couple of your core values.
Oh, wow. God, Allison Amando knows them all. Consumer centric is a big one. So we make sure that, if something is more to be agent-centric or consumer-centric, agent-centric loses, consumer-centric always wins. So everything we do is always consumer-centric. Honesty is a big one. Commitment is a big one. Knowledge is a huge one, where my staff, we meet 5 days a week. So 5 days a week, the agents and I meet. Sometimes it's for 15 minutes. Sometimes it's a 2-hour session. Sometimes it's 50 minutes plus a 1-hour role play twice a week. But we are in each other's face to learn and learn and learn. So knowledge is one of the big ones. So that's just an example of a few of them. And we go through them every day, every week.
Well, you're a great example of not, some people build their core values so they can tell everybody what they'd like to be, as opposed to building core values and then actually living them.
Oh, yeah.
You're a great example to me and to your team of someone who lives their core values. And I have a lot of respect for you because of that.
Oh, thank you. No, we have a passion, which is another one of our core values.
So I'm curious, how many families will your team serve a year?
We do about somewhere around 100. There's sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. It's going to be about 100 families. But the interesting thing in how we're getting it done is, obviously we're looking to increase that, unit count more and more and more, but a lot of it is balance of life. So, to do those 100 transactions pre-COVID, I was working from a low of 25 to maybe 35 hours a week. And when I went on vacation, I was really on vacation. I would probably call in once a day for an hour, and that's really pretty much all I had to do, and sometimes once every 2 days. So really kind of setting up a team that works. It's not just about the unit number. It's the unit number, but the quality of life. So there are teams out there that are doing a lot more units than we are, and they may or may not be making more money than we are. But I would tell you, most of the agents, and I certainly have a lot more balance of life than probably 99% of the agents out there. And that means a lot to me.
I don't know. I'm going to how many people are listening to this Facebook Live. But as you listen to this call, imagine doing 100 transactions a year and working less than 25 hours a week. Like,
it's definitely less than 40. I'll tell you, and it's usually in the lower 30s, higher 20s. And also, when you're on vacation, Verl, you're on vacation.
You don't sit there on your phone the whole time?
Not at all. Not at all.
I've known the other workaholic Mark, and I like this one. I bet your wife does too.
Yeah. I've worked more during COVID-19 because, we have to pivot. But even that, yesterday I took off at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the afternoon, and I was gone for the day. My family and I were doing something, and at 1:30, and everything was handled, and offers were being done, and accepted offers were being made, and inspections were happening, and training was happening, and I was playing.
I love that. Brooke Seiden says to tell you hello.
Hi, Brooke.
You got a lot of fans out there. You got a lot of fun people that are paying attention. If you come onto the post, I'm here with Mark Seiden of the Mark Seiden Real Estate Team, and he's sharing with us about his team, his culture, how they've had to pivot, and things that are just working well for them in the game of real estate. Mark, you've moved from being transactional, being the guy that does all the deals, to becoming a leader. What's the big change? What do you believe what do you focus on today that's different than what you did previously?
Wow, that's a great question. I will tell you probably the hardest thing for a real estate agent to do, and I would say it's pretty much two things. One is delegating. Number two is understanding that those that you delegate to will fail more often than I will, and that's okay. And part of the unit numbers is that you will eventually do more units, but while you're doing more units, there are going to be more times that there are going to be more failure of not doing units because you delegated. It's okay. It's part of the growth. And you'll eventually find that balance, especially with training and being concerned about your people to help them find systems to succeed, and not yelling and not, oh my God, if I did that, I know it would have closed. And the answer is, yeah, it's probably true. But then you would have been putting in your 75th hour that week. So it's okay if people fail, as long as the failure comes with knowledge and progress. So if the failure comes with knowledge and progress, it's the best failure that ever could have happened. And just keep finding ways to delegate and increase those processes and systems so the delegation becomes more seamless and easier for those that you delegate to. Now that takes a while. That is not a 1 week transition. It takes a while.
Mark, you're a bit of a perfectionist in my opinion, and that is that I remember going through a few coaching. Matter of fact, I think we coached together for over a year, where I tried to get you to hire some agents, and you just refused to do it. I was going back and looking at all the assignments, and call after call after call, it was hire 3 agents, hire 4 agents, hire. And I think one of you says hire 9 agents. You're doing an amazing job at marketing and lead generation, but you refuse to hire anybody.
Yeah.
And the reason you refuse to hire anybody, I don't know if you know this, but I recognize it as you didn't want to bring them on and then let them down. And unless you had the process right for onboarding and developing them, you refused to bring them onto your team because you knew how it would end. I thought it was really interesting process that you had to, as a leader, work through and get your systems in place to onboard properly and train before
Right.
you would ever open up the floodgates and bring the right people in.
Well, that's correct. And again, we have a mantra in our team that basically say there are no real problems or issues or things that went wrong. We just have little holes that we need to plug. So if something went wrong, it's not wrong. There's a little water that started coming out of the dam. Okay, well, how do we fix the dam? We can either look at the problem going, you did this and you did this, and why didn't that happen? And who dropped the ball? That's one way to go. Or we can say, all right, this happened. So now there's 2 things we have to do. One, we have to fix it, because if something happened, something probably bad happened to somebody. So we got to fix it. But now what do we do to patch that hole so that water doesn't come out of the dam anymore? And that is the focus of everything we do with process and systems and process and systems. Now, there's a lot of people out there that may think that my C, for anybody who does the DISC, that my C is over the top. It's actually not. It's 3rd out of my 4 categories. But I just found that the reason why my C really elevates, it's because it helps my people. And if my people are happier because they know what to do, it's easier to train them. They have a path to follow. That's why my C exploded. So it doesn't make me happy to do it just to do it. It makes me happy because they're so happy, because it makes it easier for them. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what I heard was, I'm such a high C that I've thought through the process of my other personality or behavioral styles to try and solve the system so I don't show up as such a high C.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
I'm not sure that's what you meant, but that's what I was gathering as you were analyzing. So what kind of a focus, we have a lot of team leaders that listen to these Facebook Live calls, and I'm curious if you would give them advice from a training perspective. What level of training do you believe is it your role as a leader to provide?
Again, I think ours is probably a little bit more than most, but if I'm not doing transactions, and I'm really good at doing transactions, but that's not what my role needs to be. My role needs to help bring in leads 2 ways. I bring in leads, teach my agents how to bring in their personal sphere leads, right? And to train and make them better, which means training should be at least 5 days a week. You cannot expect great results by meeting or talking to your agents and staff. And don't forget the admin, without training and talking to your staff only once a week. If you're only going to give time to your staff and agents once, maybe twice a week, you can't expect greatness. You can expect okayness because your training is only okay. But if you really spend time with your people and give them, it's funny because you said Alice and Armando's on the phone, and my agents know that when they call me with a question, they will never get a 10-second answer. It doesn't exist. Because when they ask a question, I give them the why before I give them the what. Now, when an agent asks a question, they just want to know what's the answer? And I give them the why first, and then the what. And when you teach them that, that's how they learn to do things themselves. And so training is daily. It's just daily. You can't just check in every once in a while. And that, again, the more training that I give, the more time I get to take off. Isn't that interesting?
People don't get that. They don't get that if you develop your people, you're developing your replacements.
Oh, absolutely.
In a positive way.
And I've had buyer agents now that have been with me the longest of any time. I mean, I used to have a revolving door, and I'm sure there's people on the Zoom meeting that are going like this. Oh yeah, revolving door. Oh yeah. And I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but I haven't had anybody leave me in a while. Maybe even 2 years already. And, and for me, it used to be, well, someone's coming in, another's going out, another's coming in, another's going out. And, I work my people hard. Believe me, when we have our 30-minute meetings and I'm going through their database, we use Boomtown. But Sync is great. Boomtown is great. I know there's a couple others out there. Doesn't make a difference what you use as long as you use it. So we go through their Boomtown once a week. I go through their news and their qualifieds and their hots and I go through their columns. We go through it and they're going, all right, he's going to go through a Boomtown. But they know it's out of love and not out of criticism.
You're not trying to hurt them. No,
I only want to make them better.
So I think that's interesting. You've had hardly any turnover. I'm a big believer, Mark, that people don't leave companies. They don't leave brands. They leave leaders.
I agree.
And if they stay, it's usually because of the same thing.
Right. And believe me, that doesn't mean they've loved me every day. If you looked at them, they'll go, yeah, he's great. Oh, he trains. And then if you get him off to in a corner and put a couple beers in him, yeah, they'll tell you about sometimes they weren't too thrilled with their team leader, boss, president. But that's okay. We're just here to make each other better.
Yeah, when you're pouring into people and you're really developing and helping them, right. When you have to have a 1-minute reprimand, you have permission to, because of the development and the love that you give them the other 90% of the time.
Right, I agree. And I like what you just said. I've never heard that before, but I'm going to use that, the 1-minute reprimand. That's exactly what it should be. You get the 1 minute out, you do it, and then now let's make it better. I like that. I'm going to use that. Do you have a little RSC next to it, or can I? Yeah,
that comes from the 1-minute manager.
So I read that a long time ago.
They talk about 1-minute praises and 1-minute reprimands, and the 1-minute praises need to be seven times more than the reprimands. And I think somebody gave that to me because I was running on an opposite schedule of lots more reprimands than praises. And it's just a lifetime thing that we have to focus on as leaders as we develop others. So what's next for Mark Seiden? What do you see your future over the next couple of years in real estate? Where do you want to grow and go to?
I would love to, it's great. I would love to increase the number of units we do, because I would love to hire. One thing I don't have is a training sales manager. I've been kind of doing that stuff. And I'd love to be able to grow, to be able to train the trainer. I think that's really my next level. I know my agent will be like, no, but training the trainer would be really, really great. And then to be able to do, trainings really outside my company, doing webinars like this, doing trainings. I've actually been hired sometimes to go into my competitors' offices to train on agency law, to train on scripts and dialogues, believe it or not. That to me is kind of my next level. So if I can still be with my staff, do training, but be able to train a trainer to kind of take part of that over and to kind of take this on the road, yowza.
That's your happy place.
That's my major happy place.
You know what? Those of us who make our living being in front of people, it's a drug. And it is the greatest drug, and it's hard to replace it. So COVID-19 has been hard. Like, I haven't been it's been harder for my wife than it has been for me. She's like, when are you leaving? Would you please leave town? I need my space.
I know. But my wife says, honey, I love you. You're the best husband I've ever had. Isn't that a great compliment? Yeah. But she goes, I need an hour. Can you just detach from me for 1 hour? I go, no.
That's why I love it. I'm so starved for a live audience that I lined up all my grandkids and the kids and put them all in a row. And I said, thanks for coming today. I'm just going to spend a few minutes. We're going to set some goals. And my wife says, it's Mother's Day. Leave the children alone.
I love that. That's great. Listen, it's not as bad as I dissed my kids. Because my wife and I, that was great. I'll tell you, if you ever have the opportunity to do that, you have to pay for the report. You can't make your manager our company paid for the reports. You got to pay your own report for that. But disc your kids. And it's amazing what you'll learn once you disc your kids or spouse. Now, disking your spouse can be very dangerous. You should probably pay for that report twice. But it's fascinating, let me tell you.
Well, in the DISC assessments with the motivators that we use, it talks about how to communicate with someone like that. And so before you ever debrief it with the person you DISC, please read how to talk to them about theirs. Otherwise, you're going to have all kinds of issues. If one of you reads it and the other one doesn't, they win.
That's right.
They'll win in the communication. So any advice you'd give as we wrap this up today, Mark, what a pleasure it is to talk to you. We could talk for hours.
Oh, this is great.
Specific on systems and a lot of things that you do, but I just love sharing your culture and your desire to train and develop people. My big takeaways are that when everybody else is pulling away, you leaned into the business and you've done a lot of transactions, helped a lot of families who needed to move and didn't know how to do it by creating greater education for them. I would love just one or two things that you would give any audience to help them prepare for their next level. So you've got a next level you want to go to. How would you help someone get to the level where you are? What would be the one or two things that you would say, just do these?
Train, set up some trainings. And the trainings don't have to be major. The trainings are just things you know that the other agents may not know. That's all. And I will tell you, one of the things about real estate agents is most real estate agents are really not great at math. I mean, you could even go to your agent and say, okay, if a seller wanted to net $200,000 and the commission was X, what would the house need to sell for? You'd be amazed at how few agents can actually do that because agents don't know how to divide. Right. So what I'm basically saying is don't worry about you don't know what to train on. If you know more than your agents, you've got plenty to train on. The second thing is understand that the people you are training is the sculpture of David. However, you just got the block of marble delivered to your door. Do you know how you make the sculpture of David? One chip at a time. So understand you're not going to be able to make the sculpture of David in a week, in a month, even in a year. It's constant because it's one chip at a time. And as long as it starts to form and you're doing what you're doing, it doesn't get any better than that.
That's a great, I had a thought come to my mind as you were sharing that, and that is that great agents aren't acquired, they're developed.
Oh yeah.
You don't recruit great agents, you recruit good people, and then you develop them into becoming great team members and great agents.
Right. That's great. And that's when commission splits don't matter. I mean, it's never about the commission split. It's always about the 1099 at the end of the year. So especially for those who work on a team, agents on a team are in lower commission splits than agents that are not on a team. So why are my agents leaving to go work for somebody else that are not on a team? Well, for two reasons. I provide so much support that if they ever went someplace else to get more money, they'd have to spend more money just to try, which would more than make up all that more money they were making, number one. Number two, they'd be working so much harder. And number three, the 1099s that they make from my brokerage is higher than any of the brokerages they worked before. And some of them were on splits that were almost double than what they're making for me. So if you can really show people it's never about the commission split, it's about the 1099, it's the training to make them better that the other places really can't provide. And the workman stuff, you can't even describe it. It just blows everything else away.
Thank you for throwing that in there. And I appreciate all your support, your energy, and your contribution. A lot of what makes our workman stuff great, Mark, is because of the contribution you've had to it. And
I appreciate it.
I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, we have a true giver. Let's give him a round of applause on Facebook. Let him know we appreciate him being here. Mark Seiden.
Thank you. Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. That's what we got to do. Stay tuned on our Wednesday flash briefings. We have an unbelievable lineup of amazing leaders that are going to continue to share with you how to succeed in a crazy world that we live in today. Everybody stay safe out there. On behalf of Workman Success Systems and Mark Seiden, I'll see you all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again, bro. Appreciate it.